Let's do another example with average rate of change and instantaneous rate of change. Here's number 4. A company determines that the cost in dollars to manufacture X cases of the DVD Mathematicians Caught in Embarrassing Moments is given by this equation, where X is the number of cases, so from 0 to 7 cases, and C of X is the cost to manufacture these cases, right? A says find the average change per case in the total cost if the number of cases manufactured changes from 1 to 5 cases. So what is the average change in cost per case if you go from selling or manufacturing 1 to 5 cases? Did you hear that key word? I heard the word average. And as soon as I hear that word average, I know that I'm just finding the slope between 2 points, the change between 2 points. I have an x1 and an x2. I can use that x1 and x2 to find my y1 and y2, right, by substitution. So as soon as I see that word average, I know I'm just doing my average rate of change. So I'm going to find the change from 1 to 5 by substituting in a 1, substituting in a 5, and then subtracting those. Remember that C is the cost to manufacture these DVDs, and remember the 5 and the 1 are the number of cases. So if I need to make sure that I have units in my problem, this is really cost per case. When I go to calculate it, I ended up getting 150 when I substituted in a 5 and 114 when I substituted in a 1. So then when I calculated my average rate of change, I got 9, or I should say $9 per case. So when it changed from 1 case to 5 cases, it's going to cost me $9 per case more on average. So I'm going to write my sentence. The cost is increasing on average by $9 per case. It doesn't cost me $9 per case. It costs me $9 more per case than it did before. Okay, so be careful with that. It's a rate of change. It's not an actual amount. So it's costing me $9 per case more than before. All right, that was average though. Let's do a part B where it asks us for the instantaneous rate of change of the cost with respect to the number of cases produced when just 1 case is produced. So if we produce or manufacture 1 case of these DVDs, how fast is my cost changing at that exact moment? Not from 1 to 5 cases, but exactly 1 case. As soon as I see that word instantaneous, I know that I've got to take my 2 points, I've got to smush them so close together, I've got to apply that limit idea and make h approach 0. So I have the limit as h approaches 0. We're finding the cost at exactly 1 cases. So I have my C of 1, but then I want to pick another point a little bit farther away from 1. Can I call it 1 plus h? I'm going to do my y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. But remember, the 1s would cancel and I would just be left with an h on the bottom. And then I'm going to smush these 2 points so close together so that h is 0. So here we go. This is what your setup should look like. When we do our C of 1 plus h, that means I'm going to take my 1 plus h and I'm going to substitute it into my cost function. So up here, the 100 plus 15x minus x squared. Wherever I see an x, I'm going to plug in a 1 plus h. And then wherever I see an x, I'm going to plug in a 1 and evaluate that numerator. So yours should look like this now. From here, it's just algebra. Now we just have to simplify, combine like terms, factor, all of that good stuff. I'm going to make sure that I distribute the 15 through here. I'm going to make sure that I FOIL this first and then make sure I distribute the negative through. I'm going to evaluate what this number is and then make sure I subtract it from the rest of my numerator. I ended up with this, 100 plus 15 plus 15h minus 1 minus 2h minus h squared minus 114. After doing all of that FOILing and distributing, you should have those exact terms on the top. Please don't just copy what I have down. Make sure that you've paused the video, that you've actually done the algebra so that you know how to do these problems correctly. I'm expecting to see this work on your test. I know some of you might know a quicker, easier way, but that's not what I'm looking for right now. I'm looking to see that you understand this process. So make sure that you can show me all of this work in order to get credit. All right, at this point, we should be able to cross off some like terms. I have 115 right here, and I have a negative 115 here, so those should cancel. You notice that in this problem, and maybe you noticed in example number 3, that every single term without an h canceled. It should always happen that way. All of your terms left over should have h's in them. If they don't, then that's a clue that you did something wrong with your algebra, so that might help you. All of your terms without h's should cancel, so then you're just left with terms with h's, and you should be able to combine your like terms. I have a 15h and a minus 2h. That's really a 13h, and then I still have that negative h squared. Making sure that you continue to bring down your limit as h approaches 0, because remember we want to squish those 2 points together. Remember that you should have an h in both terms in the numerator, so we should be able to GCF out that h in the top. If I factor out an h, that leaves me with a negative h plus 13 all over h. The h on top, the h on bottom can reduce, and so then I have the limit as h approaches 0 of negative h plus 13. Right now we just have an average rate of change, but let's apply that limit and let's squish those points so close together so that h is 0. If you plug in a 0 there, you've got 0 plus 13, which is this 13. So now my instantaneous rate of change at exactly 1 is 13. Let's put it into a sentence. We should be able to say, when exactly 1 case is produced, the price is increasing by $13 per case. Remember the 3 things that I want. What is happening? When is it happening? And what is your answer with correct units? When 1 case is produced, the price is increasing. I knew it was going up because it was a positive 13. If that were a negative 13, then I would have said that the price was going down as I produced a certain number of cases, right? But my price is increasing by $13 per case. Remember, that doesn't mean that my price is $13 per case. That means my price is increasing by $13 per case when I make or produce this 1 case. Okay? So a little bit of a difference there, so be careful with your wording on that. When 1 case is produced, the price is increasing by $13 per case. All right, make sure you do enough of those practice problems with your average rate of change and your instantaneous rate of change, making sure you're showing all of your work just like I've done in these examples, and you can write me a sentence with the 3 things that we're looking for.